Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have some stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Those of you who are into MTG or Pokemon, this is your day. We've got 2 stories related to that in today's episode. Before we start, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Karma Stories Discord. It is linked in the description down below, and it's a place where you can talk to me and 500 other Karma Stories fans. They're all wonderful people. I spend way too long in there every day, and I look forward to seeing you there. You'll even get some early stuff there, see what I'm doing in my workshop and my 3D printing shop, and just general conversation. I'd love to see you there. Check out the link in the description down below for the Karma Stories Discord. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Captain Mookie. You need me to stop calling in advance for my trading card game order? I just got home from this experience and I wanted to share. As a hobby, I have taken to trading card games, Pokemon and Magic the Gathering to be specific. I am not collecting sealed products, but rather I am usually buying bulk so that I can make multiple decks and play with my family. This is important because I am often making huge bulk orders that consist of 50 cards or more. There are a few shops near me, and I am fortunate enough to be close to about 5 hobby shops that sell Pokemon and Magic singles. I managed to drag my family into the Pokemon trading card game hobby roughly a year ago. Since then, the process of making an order was to select from their online stock and check out with the cart. At this time, you're given 2 options: pay in advance for your order or pay in the store. Paying in advance, while very sensible, has often led to cards being paid for that they did not have in stock. As in, it was mistakenly labeled as in stock, but actually was not. This would then result in a refund system that would take 2 to 3 days to complete. The issue is that it was super inconvenient when I had to wait 2 to 3 days to recoup the money. I personally experienced a transaction of a $10 card that needed to be refunded. So I spoke to one of the staff and they told me, when you have big orders, it's perfectly fine to call ahead of time and we can pick the order when we have time. In fact, as long as you don't abuse this process, it works out for everyone. That staff member is awesome, and so for a year, that's exactly what I did. This process accomplishes 3 things. 1, I am not paying for a product that couldn't be fulfilled. 2, I would reduce my time waiting because I called ahead of time by 4 to 5 hours. 3, the staff members would have plenty of time to grab the order. I never abused this process and always came through when I said I would come through. Now, this wouldn't be malicious compliance if not for the next part. About 2 months ago, me and my family took the dive into Magic the Gathering because Commander is a blast. This has caused me to start hoarding cards again and making decks for myself and for my family's usage. So I was back into the swing of things again, making 50 plus single card orders from this shop that I loved very much. During my usual 4-hour in advance phone call, I was told, hey, you have to stop calling in these orders. It's store policy to only pull orders that have been paid for. We won't be pulling your cards until they're paid for. Weird. I was told otherwise, but I will ask them when I get there. So I get there to pick up and pay for my order and try to explain that this process was something that a previous staff member told me was a-okay, and even encouraged. There were 2 staff members, and they both responded again with a very terse and repeated message of, it's store policy. The message was fine enough, but the tone and rudeness had me floored. They told me from now on, prepay for all my orders, and then come to pick them up. So here's where malicious compliance begins. It was clear what they wanted me to do, prepay and show up. So a few weeks later, what I did was scroll through their inventory and started the blingification of my decks. I proceeded to spend roughly 40 minutes scrolling through their online inventory and adding to my cart with various amounts of the most hollow foil basic land cards I could find for under $1. For those of you who aren't familiar, these basic lands are pretty cheap, 10 cents to 60 cents each. They also are categorized by sets and as individual printings, so each basic land has its own set and its own foil print version. This means that they would need to hunt each land by set and by foil print. I had carded roughly 100 cards, 100 cards that they would need to hunt through at least 40 different sets. They would also need to specifically find the foil only of the basic lands. Even more, I gave them an hour of time to pick the order. An hour, while definitely not a lot of time, is more than enough to grab this order. When I get there, it was one of the two guys that had reinforced the new method of ordering. Even better, he was swamped. He hadn't even started my order. I would have loved to have given him the 4 to 5 hours that I normally would give, but it was store policy that I stopped calling in advance and just order, pay, and show up. So I wait. I asked if they started my order. He quickly responded with, "Yes, I'm getting to it." I think that even he knew that this would have been much easier if I'd called 4 hours in advance like I normally would. This may be strange to say, but I was very happy that there were 4 cards that were not available for the order. So I had paid for 4 cards that I would never see fulfilled. Do you remember the staff member that was awesome? Yeah, he showed up about 30 minutes into my wait and he asked if I had been waiting for a long time. I said that it was about 30 minutes. For my wait, he had given me one of the tournament participant packs, and I had actually pulled a $30 card, Roaming Throne. The exchange was made, I waited 40 minutes. 4 cards were missing. I plan on approaching their social media or shop owner and ask for clarification from the establishment on what I should be doing in the future. That will be something I do in the near future, but for now, I feel vindicated. The staff member had to frantically hunt for the cards and even had to tell me that there were cards missing. All things that the previous system avoided. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Gyros for Gyrus. It says, "I hope you took a second or two to point out how awful this system is." OP responded and said, "So I did, but it wasn't as constructive as I would hope. I asked the nice dude if this was still how I should be doing this. Should I keep prepaying, even if you guys don't really know if the card is in stock? He tried to tell me that the refund stuff should be faster now, depending on your bank, and we talked about past refund experiences. I even asked if I should call in advance, and he kind of shrugged and said, 'Do whatever you think helps.' Basically, not a super helpful conversation. The guy who pulled my order, one of the 2 original staff members who were rude to me, seemed disinterested in talking much. Right after the transaction, he seemed to have slipped away before really interacting with me." Alright, let me know in the comments down on YouTube or on Spotify what you would have done in this situation. I feel like I would have handled it a little bit differently than OP did. I think I would have let them spend all that time pulling all those cards out, and then I would have said, "Oh, well, because you don't have those couple of ones that I really wanted, I don't want the whole order now. Sorry. Have a nice day." I mean, I could understand that they were just following policy, but they didn't need to give a whole bunch of attitude when OP walked into the store and asked about the cards. Because of that attitude, I would do exactly that. "Oh, sorry, I don't want this anymore. You'll have to put it all back now." This story comes to us from Amy94. "Site Super demands our tools are properly organized, so we followed his exact instructions." I've been doing construction for 15 years. Our crew of 8 had been working this office complex project together for 18 months, with a good supervisor who was easy to work with and trusted us to do our jobs. The super was in his 60s and was about to retire. The last night we had an awesome night out to see him off after a long career for his well-deserved retirement. The next week, his replacement arrived, Derek, fresh out of construction management school, maybe 24, with exactly 1 previous job site under his belt. Dude shows up with a clipboard and an attitude. After a week of observing us, which seemed to involve texting back and forth with his girlfriend while commenting on our work, Derek calls a meeting and announces a new rule. Every tool must be returned to its designated position immediately after each use. No exceptions. Anyone who's actually done construction knows this is insane. When you're hanging drywall, you use your drill, then your level, then your pencil, then your tape measure, then back to the drill. Putting each tool away after every single use would triple your work time. I tried explaining this. Derek wasn't interested in input from people who had been doing this since before he was a gleam in his daddy's eye. So we gave Derek exactly what he wanted. Monday morning, we started putting every single tool back in its designated spot after every single use. Installing one outlet box became a 45-minute task. Grab drill, use it, walk back to the toolbox, organize it perfectly. Grab level, use it, walk back, organize it perfectly. Repeat for every single tool. What normally takes 10 minutes is now taking 45 minutes, but our tools were perfectly organized at all times. By Tuesday afternoon, Derek was getting frantic calls about why we were so far behind schedule. He came over red-faced, demanding to know what was taking so long. Just following your efficiency protocols, boss. Every tool back immediately after use, like you said. Derek tried backpedaling, saying he meant when you are done with a task. I pulled out my phone and played back the recording of his speech where he specifically said, immediately after each use, no exceptions. By Thursday, the project manager was on site asking why productivity had dropped 75%. When he found out about Derek's tool policy, he looked at Derek like he'd grown a second head. Derek got transferred the following Monday. Our old super came back to fill in until a replacement could be found. Took one look at us obsessively organizing tools and said, "Cut it out, you idiots, we've got work to do." We finished 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So are we saying on this one that Derek was the wrong tool for the job? I sincerely hope that when they brought old supervisor back from retirement to take over until somebody else could be hired on, that old supervisor took them to the cleaners and made them pay like a year's worth of salary, even if it was only for a few months of work. Coming back from retirement because you guys screwed up, you would definitely pay me, and it would be a lot. This story comes to us from GabbyFest234. Roommate broke my can opener, so I bought a new one that I knew I could figure out how to use. So I rent rooms out in my house. I generally do it with friends or friends of friends. A couple of years ago, I had this roommate who was the ex-husband of a friend of mine, and I felt sorry for him, so I gave him a discount on rent. He still fell behind, but that's a totally different malicious compliance story. He was the worst roommate I've ever had for many reasons. But for this account, he was pretty much living off of canned food when he wasn't stealing my food, and he used my can opener every day. Well, he broke it, and he came to me and told me that, as landlord, I needed to get a new can opener. Before I get to the malicious compliance, let me add, he was very proud of his Harvard PhD. He didn't use it in his minimum wage job, but he never avoided an opportunity to remind me that my PhD was from a state school, and his was from Harvard. Note, I was working in the career that used my PhD knowledge, and the program I went to has several Nobel laureates, and I've worked with some of them. My roommate was pretty much a failure in life and had slipped into leeching off of others to survive. He had no marketable skills. Anyway, the malicious compliance. I bought a new can opener, but I got one that is really tricky to use. It basically works like an electric can opener, but is manual. I knew there was no way this incompetent roommate would be able to figure out how to use it, and he couldn't. I'd find mangled cans in the garbage, not even recycling. He came to me and asked how to use the can opener. My response? A guy with a Harvard degree should certainly be able to figure that out on his own, if a guy like me can. Hey, so how do you know when someone's gone to Harvard? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Can you imagine somebody who went to Harvard and was a vegan? They'd never shut up. Hey, OP, if they ever keep talking and talking, like they probably do, you could just tell them to can it. This story comes to us from Obadon1404. Be careful what you ask for. So this takes place in 2000. Don't remember what month, but I went to school in a small town where it was redneck as can be. Think people coming to school on tractors and stuff. We got a new principal fresh from Dallas and a much bigger school district. Now remember, country school, we all had pocket knives, we wore jeans and button-downs, and I happened to be going through the emo goth phase because F rednecks, Me and my friend wore black pants with chains and black trench coats. First thing this principal does is declare no pocket knives. Wasn't a big deal, no one cared, and there wasn't metal detectors. Then he starts going after my crowd. Suddenly we're told no pentacles or Satanist jewelry. Well, even though we were doing the rebel thing, we were nerds through and through, played Magic the Gathering and chess, and immediately got copies of the school board rules. So we all declared our religion as Wiccan and refused. Principal tried to make us stop wearing them anyway. Our parents backed us up and he had no leg to stand on, so then he targeted our coats. That we couldn't stop, but he also declared we couldn't play Magic at lunch, stated it was too much like witchcraft and other students were uncomfortable. So back to the rules. Come to find out, per their policies, we could create a chess club and have a teacher sponsor us. As long as chess was being played, we were allowed to play any game that involved strategy. Few weeks in, he swings by and the 12 of us are in there, 2 playing chess, the rest Magic. He loses his crap and says we're through and to shut it down. We were prepared though. Per the rules, unless a club is not actively competing, they cannot be shut down without full board approval. We went on to place second in state in chess and kept our club going, laugh out loud. He left not long after. I guess freedom of religion isn't really freedom of religion to people who are in some religions, if that makes sense. This story, though, was more about control of the principal over the students and not letting the students be who the students want to be. The only thing I agree with that the school did in this story was remove pocket knives from the situation, because who the hell brings something like that to school? This story comes to us from Mother Soraka. Manager said, no phones during work hours, period. So I stopped answering his calls. I work IT support for a medium-sized company. We've always been allowed to have our phones at our desks. Sometimes family emergencies happen. Doctors call back, whatever. As long as we weren't scrolling social media all day, nobody cared. New manager comes in last month, sees one person checking a text, and loses it. Sends out an email, effective immediately, no personal phones during work hours. They must be left in your car or locker. This means 9 to 5, no exceptions. Anyone caught with a phone will be written up. Okay, sure boss. The thing is, our manager works from home 3 days a week, and when server issues pop up after hours or on weekends, guess how he contacts us? That's right, our personal phones. We don't have company phones. Friday afternoon, 4:45 p.m., major server issue. I see it, could fix it in 10 minutes, but my phone is in my car as per policy. I calmly finish my work at 5 o'clock and walk out. By the time I get to my car and check my phone at 5:15, I have 17 missed calls and a string of increasingly panicked texts from my manager. The server has been down for 30 minutes. Multiple departments can't do anything. I call him back. Hey, just got to my car and saw your calls. What's up? He's furious, molding and seething, asking why I didn't answer. I remind him about the no phones policy. He says that's different. This was an emergency. I point out his email that said no exceptions, and I was just following policy to avoid a write-up. Monday morning, new email. Personal phones are permitted at desks for emergency purposes. Back to normal then. OP, you could have taken this one further. You know, you leave work, you get into your car, you drive all the way home first, then you look at your phone and realize you have all these missed calls and all these missed texts. Then you call the boss back and you say, oh, sorry, I don't use my phone in the car. That's unsafe. In fact, you could even take that one a step further and just leave your phone at home, because leaving it in your car is a theft risk and you don't want to lose your phone, right? Can we touch on one more thing here? If OP is actually on call and expected to answer the phone, I hope work is paying for some of their phone bill. If not, work needs to supply OP with a phone to be available to come into work when they need them. But you shouldn't have to use your own personal devices that you are paying for without compensation to make your workplace happy. Alright, I think we'll go ahead and end this episode here. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you're a Magic the Gathering or a Pokemon fan, make sure to hit that like button on your preferred podcasting platform. Or if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video because it really does help us out. I thank you all for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.